Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a metal nerd like me, then you're in the right place. It's time to retire to our studies, pop open a bottle of our finest red, don our expensive headphones, put a fresh needle on the turntable, and let's celebrate the finest progressive metal albums of 2024. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, John Barbas. We're breaking down my top 10 favorite progressive metal albums of the year, and number one will be my overall album of the year. So let's get it. Coming in at number 10, from Germany, Chapel of Disease with Echoes of Light. This band sounds like they grew up listening to just as much Blue Oyster Cult as they did Morbid Angel. In fact, if it weren't for their harsh vocals, occasional chugs, and lead harmonies, I wouldn't even call this a metal record. I would call it a progressive rock record. But that good old death metal runs through it. If you liked last year's horrendous record, Ontological Mysterium, you'll definitely love this. They're playing by their own rules. Genre conventions be damned, and I'm here for it. Coming in at number 9, from Finland, Octoploid with Beyond the Aeons. This is the solo band of Ollie from Amorphous, and I gotta admit, I think I like Octoploid more than I like Amorphous. You take that 70s prog and you smash in some death metal, and I'm gonna love it. In fact, you're going to notice a theme on this year's Best Prog of the Year episode, because there's a lot of 70s worship going on with today's bands, and why not? That's where all the best prog comes from. This included, they masterfully mixed spaced out synths and pentatonic guitar solos with death metal growls. It all just seems to fit, never seems to clash. You get this sonic, spacey adventure with hellish ferocity. It's like a psychedelic fever dream, and I love it. Coming in at number 8, from Portland, Oregon, Lord Dying with Clandestine Transcendence. This record turned me around numerous times because it starts out as this filthy stoner sludge with guttural vocals, and then the background vocals are like ethereal female singing. So I thought, this is right up my wheelhouse. The thunderous drums just making my lip curl in disgust. But somewhere along the way, you get clean singing and progressive elements. And at first, I thought that the record had ended and my streaming service was auto-playing some other album. But no, I just wasn't done with this record yet. In fact, there was a lot more to come and a lot more turnarounds and unique directions. At first, it was jarring, but then on the second listen when I was expecting it, now I'm starting to notice the method to their madness. There's a lot of unique music here, so any fans of novelty, this record gets my highest recommendation. Coming in at number 7, from Canada, Ancients with Two Eyes, Beyond the Reach of the Sun. Now this band gets a lot of comparisons to Opth and Mastodon, but with this record, I feel like they've moved beyond the Opth comparisons. It's true that both bands blend clean singing and death metal vocals. It's true that both bands are masters at turning the song on a dime into a completely different direction, but there's no European folk elements here. It's more Canadian stoner groove. But I do get that familiar feeling when listening to this band, and that familiar feeling is awe. Coming in at number 6, from Hungary, Thy Catafalque with their 12th record that I'm just going to call 12. I'll let Thomas explain how this one is actually supposed to be pronounced. I'm excited about your new record. Now, I'm sorry, I'm very bad at pronunciation. It's 12, and then can you help me with the pronunciation?
Okay, it's a gyönyörű álmok ezután jönnek.
Yeah, I would never. I'm from the southern part of the United States, and we don't even pronounce our own words correctly down here.
Yeah, but don't worry about that, because that's why it's entitled 12, because, you know, I knew that it was impossible for anyone to pronounce it outside of Hungary. So I just wanted to make it easier.
This one to me is astounding because it not only comes only a year after the masterful, critically acclaimed Fooled, but it's a very different record from that one. And I think that after 25 years of creating wildly different art and subverting expectations all along the way, this is the reason why Thomas is able to get away with something like this, creating such a radically different sound, where A Fool was bleak and dreary. This record 12 is playful and bright. There are still moments of crushing heaviness, but it's not such a downer. I'd say the only through line between them is all the Hungarian folk elements and maybe some adventurous choices. Once again, Thy Catafalque with another instant classic. Coming in at number 5, from Italy, Bedor with Dreaming the Strife of Love. This one is ambitious and expansive even by prog standards. If you take the mellotron-soaked sound of Opth and infuse a healthy dose of horrendous-style trad death, you will come somewhere approximating what this band sounds like. This one sounds like a space opera that's also a tragic love story. It would take you several dozen listens to get all of it and sort of figure out where it's coming from, and I recommend those several dozen listens. Coming in at number 4, from Iceland, Mure, with their self-titled debut. Now, a lot of bands will claim to defy genres, but what that really means is they mix genres. Oh, well, this verse is pop, and then the chorus is gent. Therefore, genres defied, right? No, genres mixed. However, this band is indeed hard to classify. The sound kind of approximates a mix of Devin Townsend, Opth, and Meshuggah. Now that might sound like an eclectic group of musicians that really don't mix, but that is indeed the recipe of what you're hearing here. Such a wide range of emotions, from raw and aggressive to cinematic and then magical the next. And the touching of the heartstrings belies a debut record. This is the sort of record that many bands would spend their entire careers trying to craft, and here they just seem to pull it out. This is what we sound like, guys. I'm super excited for this band's future. Coming in at number 3, from Texas, Oceans of Slumber, Where Gods Fear to Speak. This is following 2022's Starlight and Ash, which was a stripped down and personal record. On this one, they're increasing the aggression, the ambition, the grandiosity, and the heaviness. This one solidifies the band as some of the strongest songwriters in all of progressive metal, and that strength is capped by Cami Beverly's powerful voice, which ranges from southern gospel to deep gutturals to even a little sprinkling of dark pop. Then you couple that with the engaging and deep lyrical content, and this band is an exemplar of excellence in not just prog, but metal, period. Coming in at number 2, from Sweden, Opth, The Last Will and Testament. Now, this might shock a lot of long-term subscribers because many of you know that Opth is one of my all-time favorite bands, and for sure, my personal bias makes me want to name them number 1. However, coming in at number 2 on the best records of the year just goes to show what a fantastic album this is. In my opinion, this one is going to age very well in the Opth catalog. When I did the tier list episode, I put it in A tier, only behind Blackwater Park and Ghost Reveries. It is a masterpiece, like we always expect from Opth. You know, all the expected Opthisms are here, but with a few extra surprises. This one might be known as the record where Michael started growling again, but it's not an old death metal record like their first few records. I would consider the growling on this one more an added tool to the tool chest of their modern direction. And I like that this is a concept record that's telling the story of a rich patriarch and the reading of his will after he died and all the drama that unfolds, because the storytelling guides the music. So it makes for a tighter record where the longest song is only 7.5 minutes, which is a pittance by Opth standards. Like I said at the beginning, I think this one will age very well in their catalog. I think we will look back on this one quite fondly for years to come. So, with all of that glowing praise, what could possibly have beaten Opth on my Albums of the Year episode? Give me a minute. And hey, before we do number one, I just got one thing I want to say to you. If you love metal the way that I love metal, then you're in the right place. You should join the Heavy Metal Philosophy community, because that's all we do here. Talk about the best new metal and analyze the culture and reasons why we do what we do in this community. So if that's appealing to you, hit that button. Now let's do number one. Coming in at number one, the best progressive metal album of 2024 and my overall album of the year from Denver, Colorado, Blood Incantation with Absolute Elsewhere. Now, Hidden History of the Human Race is one of the most beloved, critically acclaimed, and fan acclaimed records in death metal, and somehow this band managed to up their game even more. What an incredible leap this is. I talked earlier about how Opth is one of my favorite bands. Well, one of my other favorite bands, and definitely my favorite non-metal band, and also my favorite guitar player ever, David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. That influence is all over this album. There's a lot of Rush influence on here, just a lot of 70s prog worship. Once again, we talked about that earlier. And I am here for all of these new bands embracing those influences. But I'm also here for the philosophy on this one. It's all about consciousness and impermanence. It's like existential fury with a little bit of hope. I also love how it's got this space psychedelia, but then it's got the ugly death metal in it too. Old school prog bands, they make space too nice and adventurous. Put some death metal in there, because there are some truly horrifying elements of space travel and astral projection, whatever else sort of weird conscious bending nonsense that this band is going on about. I could listen to it over and over and over again, and in fact I will. That's why it's number one. What an achievement. Blood Incantation. Now, before the riff of the week plays, what an incredible year, and I have thoroughly enjoyed breaking down my albums of the year. So I'm going to put a playlist right here: best thrash metal albums of the year, best black metal albums of the year, best death metal albums of the year. And next week, I'm going to do a best of bands that don't fit neatly into those categories I normally cover: thrash, death, black, prog. You know, what if there's a great doom record, or a great sludge record, or a great metalcore record, great deathcore record? There's so many genres that I don't normally cover, but I thoroughly enjoy. So next week we'll shout out some of those. If you want to catch that, make sure you're subscribed. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.